Hi, humans. I want to share with you something that I've learned recently, or something that I'm kind of wrestling through and just kind of digesting it in my spirit. And I wanted to share it with you. I've been, for the past week and a half, I've been kind of gleaning information and gleaning knowledge and gleaning some word from God, and found in Mark 9. And it's from 14 through 29. And that story is when Jesus comes back with three of his disciples. He's in the Mount of Transfiguration and everything happens. He comes back, he sees the other disciples there, and they're with the teachers of the law, and they're arguing and they're doing their thing. And then Jesus comes up and he says, "Hey, what's going on? What's happening?" And he was talking to the disciples and to the teachers of the law because they were arguing. So Jesus is asking, "Hey, what are you guys arguing about?" And a man comes out in the crowd, and a man says, "I brought my son here because my son is possessed. I brought him to your disciples and they couldn't deliver him." Let's just stay there for just a moment. And I like the way that the dad has so much desperation that he wasn't a part of the argument, but he knows what the reason why what was going on. So he's like, "I don't care who's arguing, I don't care who Jesus is talking to. I have a need. I'm coming before you. This is what's happening." And then it says in verse, where was it that I was reading it? In verse 4, I'm sorry, in verse 17 and 18. And can I just tell you that out of just those verses, I have like 14 different, yeah, 14 different things that I've been able to kind of take out from the scripture and just kind of digest a little bit and just be like, oh my goodness, there's so much to take from this story alone. So back to the story. So Jesus, the father's talking to Jesus, and then Jesus talks back to the father, and he's like, "Hey, how long has this been going on?" Well, even before that, he's like, "This generation that doesn't believe." That's what he says. "You unbelieving generation, how long shall I stay with you? How long shall I put up with you and bring the boy to me?" So brings the boy to Jesus. The boy starts convulsing, and it says, the boy is possessed by the spirit. He's robbed him of his speech. He throws him to the ground. He's foaming at the mouth. He's gnashing at the teeth, and his body becomes rigid. So here's the dad in front of Jesus. So let's say I'm the dad. I'm bringing my son. Jesus is right there. I'm talking to Jesus. I'm like, my son comes close. The demon sees Jesus. He starts convulsing. Here's my son, gnashing at the teeth. His body is rigid. He's foaming at the mouth. He's mute. Like, all this is happening. And then Jesus says, "You unbelieving generation, how long shall I stay with you?" That's what he says right before all of this is happening. And then this convulsion starts happening. And then Jesus says to the dad, "How long has this been going on?" And the father says, "From childhood. It has often thrown him into the fire or water to kill him. But can you do anything to take pity on us and help us?" So this is where I stayed for a little while. The father is talking to Jesus. His son is convulsing, and Jesus is asking him questions, and he is responding. The son is convulsing. All of this is still happening. The son is convulsing. All of this is happening. The dad says, "If you could do anything, have pity on us. Do something. Do anything." And that's so impactful. Think about it. Think about that. The father's talking to to Jesus. As he's talking to Jesus, having this conversation with Jesus, Jesus is talking to him as a parent. I'm thinking, my son is convulsing. Can we not have this conversation? Can we resolve this, which is the whole reason why I came here? Please help me with this. But Jesus is engaging with the father. So, can you imagine what it is to talk to Jesus and things still be happening, and engage with Jesus and say, "I believe, but I don't believe. Like, I know you can do it, but will you do it?" That unbelief, but the belief. Like, there's a lot of struggles that the dad is going through while his son is still convulsing. And I think that that's what happens to us in our lives. I've experienced that in my life. I'm sure you've experienced in your life, where you're coming to Jesus and you're praying and you're talking to him, or you're questioning him and you're just like, "I know you can do it, but will you actually do it?" In that struggle with our faith, Situations are still happening. There's still convulsion happening right here. And we have to keep moving in life and keep working on our faith and keep having conversations with Jesus while things are still happening that are not good, that are not well. The same things that we're bringing to Jesus, they're still occurring. And how can my faith grow? How can your faith grow and talk to Jesus and engage with Jesus and trust in Jesus and all these things when all these things are still happening? But Jesus says to the Father, like, if I can do something, anything and everything is possible for that believe. And that's another place where I got stuck at. Because it doesn't say, because it says, let's see, it says everything is possible for one who believes. So the key element here is in believing that God can. So it's not that can you or will you do it. It's he can. Will he do it? Does he do it? Do I believe that he can? Do I believe that he can? It doesn't matter where I'm at. It doesn't matter whether it happens or not, whether that convulsion stops or not, whether this mess, this drama in our life, this situation in our life, this diagnosis in our life, this pain, this trauma, whatever is here, can I still come to a place where, regardless of what's happening here, that Jesus is that before me, can I trust and have faith in Him that He is God? Not that He's going to resolve that, not that He's going to complete that, not that He's going to heal that, not that He's going to deliver that. Regardless of what He will do, can I have faith? Can I keep going? Can I stay focused that regardless of what happens, He still remains being God? He still remains able to. But if you go back in verse 17 and 18, where it tells you all the things that he's going through, right? And then you go to verse 22, and the father says, if you can you do anything? The desperation of the dad was not just deliver him. He says, anything, anything. Can you stop him from foaming? And he can do everything else, but just stop the foaming? Or can you can you stop him from getting his body rigid? Just that element alone. Can you just stop that? Can you stop him? Can you allow him to speak even though he's going through that? But can he speak? Can he tell me what's going on? Like the father's desperation is so big, but his faith in God is so big too. But he's just like, anything, I'll take anything than what I'm saying. So I feel, a lot of times we just look at that big deliverance, like he delivered him. If you keep reading, Jesus delivered him. Jesus didn't even stop the conversation because he was like, okay, it's time for me to stop this and take care of that. People started coming, the crowd started running towards Jesus was, and at that moment is when he starts to heal. So the engagement with the dad was so important that Jesus didn't do anything for anybody else. He was focused on the dad. He didn't handle the situation. He was handling the situation in the dad. And there is where there's a miracle in there. There's a miracle where he says, I believe, but help me in my unbelief. And there's moments that we're always going through that. There's moments that we're just like, God, I know that you can. I know that you can, but will you? In that moment of will you, it's almost like, I know you can, but that insufficient, that deficiency, that lack in my faith, there's a part that's missing in my faith where I can say, I know that you have the power to do it. So it's not if he can, if he will, but it's I know that you have the ability to do it, regardless of whether you do it or not. Can I trust enough? Can I believe enough? Can I keep functioning enough, even though whatever's happening here? It's a big deal. It's a big step of faith. And there's a miracle in that. There's a miracle in the fact that the Father can recognize there's a deficiency in my faith. There's something that's missing in my faith. Can you help me in that area that I'm missing? And then if you read towards the end, which is like verse 29, where Jesus is alone with the disciples, and the disciples are saying, why couldn't we do that? And Jesus says, it's through prayer. And there's a lot of theological conversations about when he says this kind can only be casted out through prayer. If you read it in Matthew, and you'll see that it says we need prayer, we need faith as a mustard seed. So there's a lot happening in here, but there's a miracle in there too, that may our prayer life be so grounded, be so grounded that regardless of what type of situation we're going through, regardless of what's happening here in this area, in this mess that we're bringing into the Lord, regardless of that, can I still pray? Am I still able to be grounded and rooted so that my belief is stronger than my unbelief? This is an area that we have to really, really focus on a daily basis. On a daily basis, I've got to look in the mirror and think, hey, what's convulsing over here? And what is my prayer? I will only believe that God is going to heal, God is going to deliver if it's completely, if the demon is completely out. Is that the only way that I'm going to believe that it's God? Or can I be like the dad and say, God, do anything, 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 but do something? I encourage you to remember, look forward, look at Jesus, regardless of what's happening on in your world. Keep your eyes on Jesus. There's a miracle in just keeping our eyes on Jesus. There's success in just keeping our eyes on Jesus, believing that He's Almighty God, regardless of what I see, what I feel, or what I experience. God will stay being God regardless. Let us have faith in God.